We're in Southeast Baltimore at the Bilingual Christian Church, which started in 1980, is the first Latino church in the region. We're so honored to be here tonight with your voice, your future town hall, where the pastor is Bishop Angel Nunez. Thank you and welcome to our broadcast.
It's a privilege to have you here with us.
And I don't know if you heard the reputation of Anthony Barksdale, who's a retired Baltimore police officer, and he's Deputy Commissioner of Operations. We want to welcome you to our platform tonight. Let's start this the right way. You know, my producers, when we were thinking about this town hall tonight, everyone thinks that Baltimore is one of the most violent places in the world. You read international news and they talk about Baltimore and the crime and the violence and the homicide. And hopefully before we conclude this town hall tonight, we also make people aware that Baltimore is just not about violence and crime. There's so much more that is here, and that should not always be the narrative when people think about Baltimore. But, you know, we talk about the root of crime. You know, the thing about roots, if they're well watered, they're well manicured and taken care of, they just continue to grow and to grow. And there's some roots you want to grow. But the root of crime continues to grow in this city of Baltimore. And you continue to say the homicide surges, the petty crime surges. Why is it, Anthony? Why does it continue to gain root?
There were periods where we weren't having these problems, where Baltimore had ended mass incarceration and the homicide rate started to fall. As a matter of fact, we hit historic lows in homicides. So that came from intense accountability for the executives. It came from a smart crime plan. It came from teamwork with police, prosecutors, and the community. So it hasn't always been this way. So we need to admit that it's broken right now as far as public safety goes. Baltimore is a beautiful city, has wonderful citizens, but right now we're losing to violent criminals. And that's where we are, in my opinion, and I would think that the data backs up my statement.
What changed, Bishop?
I don't know, but I dare say what has not worked is that we have always had leadership telling us what they can do for us. And I feel that we need to hear from the people. We need to have a grassroots plan from the people that are working in the streets, working with the homeless, working with drug addicts. We need to hear from them, you know, and not just invited to the table and told, this is what we're going to do for you. And so my push is, let's get a plan, a people's plan, so that we are able then to hear from the people that are living the situation.
You know, we often hear of legislators and elected officials rolling out their plan to reduce crime, to reduce poverty. And you hear this all across the country. And, you know, they have these press conferences. They talk about the 3-point or the 5-point plan. But in some of these communities, the situation only gets worse. Why is it that these plans don't always sustain themselves? And what plans have actually worked, Mr. Barksdale?
When you roll out a crime plan, you have to hold everyone involved to high levels of accountability. You cannot be a commander in a district or precinct, wherever, Baltimore, New York, DC, wherever, and one day someone is a victim of a homicide in the 1800 block of wherever, and then the next day there's another homicide in the 1800 block or wherever, or the 1900 block or wherever. If you cannot deploy your resources that you have, then you should not be in position. If you can justify what happened, maybe the officer, your deployment, somebody, maybe there was an emergency call, maybe someone was sick or something else, but you better have a damn good reason why you didn't deploy correctly to prevent another act from happening. The police and prosecutors, they must be involved in breaking the cycle. And I'm going to say this. One thing that, you got some former commanders in this room. When I would have a CompStat session for management accountability, the prosecutor, the deputy chief prosecutor, had a seat in the room. It's teamwork. We're together in this. And it prevented me and my commanders from falling into cognitive bias because we're listening to what are the prosecutors seeing when our cases come into court. Are we putting good cases up for the state's attorney, for the United States attorney? So if you look at it, you can look at the crime in Baltimore right now, and you'll see repeat incidents in the same geographic area, a short time span, and it's happened over and over again over the years. And that is definitely broken. But I need to say this. There's a management model, and it's from New York City. It's called CompStat. Baltimore is called CompStat. It's based on 4 tenets. And the citizens need to understand how it works, because this is how New York turned around its crime. This is what I used in Baltimore. So the 4 tenets are accurate, timely intelligence, clearly disseminated to all. Rapid deployment. Get the resources to the area that needs the cops. Effective tactics. When you get there, what are you doing? Are you walking foot? Are you doing surveillance? Are you serving search warrants? It's a lot to it, and there's a lot of things that can be done. Are you just talking to the community? Am I going to the bishop and saying, Bishop, we got a problem over here. Do you have anybody in your congregation that could help us? Talk to us. Tell us what's going on in the street. And then the last rule of it all, rule 4, is relentless follow-up and assessment. And that applies to the executives. And notice I keep talking about executives. We can't just keep pointing at the officers at the bottom when they screw up. They report it to us. They report to higher ups. How are they being trained? Is there discipline? Is the internal affairs effort solid? Are we testing them for integrity? Are we being sure that we don't have bad cops out on the street? We saw that in Baltimore. And the people have a right to be upset about what they've seen. But the thing is, the department has to go about fixing it. And we're years now, this is 7 years into 300 plus homicides. This is, the bishop covered, this is not the direction the city can continue in. So I hope I answered your question. I know I went off a little bit, but I just needed to get that out because it was in my soul that the people need to understand that. We're talking a people plan. They need to understand how to hold the police accountable and what they should be seeing from their politicians holding their police executives accountable.
Often in these conversations, when you talk about the violence and the crime, so much goes back to the structure of the family, the lack of the presence of a father, the lack of discipline, the lack of understanding right from wrong, the kids being focused. That it's important that kids in school during the day, they don't allow to drop out early out of school, because when they're out of school, these kids' idle time can be the devil's workshop. Is there too much emphasis placed on the family and the structure as the root cause of much of what we see today, as there's not enough talk about it? And what family structure do we speak of?
Well, I dare say that I feel that the destruction of the family is evident. We don't have fathers at home. We have mothers trying to bring up the children, grandparents taking care of them, trying to do the best that they can. Then we have the drug epidemic that has destroyed so many people's lives. And so we have a crisis in our hands. We got a family crisis, but it's more than that. We have lawlessness. We have hopelessness. If the people have no hope, I don't care how much money you give them. I don't care how many strategies, programs you can invent. If I have no hope, and you come and try to change my mindset, it's not going to work. The church, I'm a bishop, the church needs to get out there and start loving the people.
We have a question. You said we had a question. Yes. You got to step to the mic if you have a question. Oh, the cameraman has a question. Okay.
Bishop Nunez already partially addressed this, but they're calling this the People's Plan, but unless you include God in the equation, it's going to fail ultimately. And if anyone thinks it's a coincidence that we're having this meeting in church, it's not. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Mark, what has worked that we don't utilize more often? Simple things.
Simple things. Police and prosecutors discussing cases, discussing outcomes of cases, and working together. That's easy. We were paid to do that. Very easy. Community relations. I mean, there's a commander in here right now. When he had a district, everything went fine. There's another former commissioner here right now who, when he had a district, the community was fine, was taken care of. These are basics. We work for the people. That's the one thing that seems to be lost in this, is that the police work for the citizens. I don't know where this came from, where you start to hear, police say, "Oh, well, you don't understand what we do. You work for them." And that has become a growing problem over the years of basically not understanding their place of service to the citizens. And it's not all police officers, but you do hear it, and that has to stop. And that was a basic thing that we all did coming up in our careers. We knew we worked for the community. So those are a few of the things just right off of the top. And also CompStat, the level of accountability for crime has dropped over the years significantly. You have some commanders that are left in place when their crime is just going. And you get that salary, you take that rank on day one, you better be ready. Don't take it if you're not ready that day. That's like you doing your job and saying, "Oh, well, I don't feel like talking."
We're gonna be back with much more. Let's just thank this panel here. Let's give them a round of applause, because when we come back, Natasha Gayas and Maurice King will join us. Don't go away. We'll be back. Your voice, your future. Now, welcome back to the broadcast, the Quash of Wines. Thank you so much for joining us. And Maurice King, welcome back. You know, State Attorney Marilyn Mosby no longer wants to prosecute drug traffickers, and there's even been talk among activists to decriminalize sex and drug usage altogether. Natasha, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I don't think she doesn't want to. She's not prosecuting low-level crimes, including those involve prostitution and sex work. And it's first of all, she's putting a simple Band-Aid on a complex solution. As a woman who sold my body at 20 years old and is also a recovering drug addict, alcoholic, almost 20 years, and now runs an organization for young women, I can say that this is a disservice to those we serve. I will say that I do not want in any capacity women to be criminalized. I will say, though, I know there's some research that hasn't been published yet, but out of Chicago, that's showing that even with the partial decriminalization of prostitution, they're still seeing 80% of the same individuals still arrested because of the complex issues related to what leads her to thinking it's to sell her body. It's also in Baltimore City, my staff street outreach team is seeing that we're mostly still seeing the sex work is very coordinated, and they're reporting back what sounds like is not sex work, it is sex trafficking. But because of the not criminalizing, the police aren't engaging with these individuals, and frankly, my team doesn't even have the opportunity to engage with these individuals as it's coordinated, and they're leaving very quickly with the John and out.
So you definitely don't want it, you just don't want it normalized.
The issue isn't really, what I want to understand is like, why, if we're not willing to talk about sex with our youth, and I know we're in a church here, but we have raising rates of gonorrhea and syphilis in our city, and some of the highest rates of unplugged pregnancy in our nation. And if we're not talking about what reduces these and the act of sex, why are we talking about the normalization of selling sex?
So what is the conversation that is needed?
These answers aren't quick answers. They're nuanced, and they require thoughtful outcomes that come with thoughtful solutions, and our leaders actually going and figuring out what is actually happening. What leads to a woman saying, those engaging in sex work, that I don't have the autonomy of my body, that it's okay. And I'm not saying, listen, when I was selling my body, I thought, I am empowered, I am doing this. But at some point, when the crack became too much of a on top of that other trauma happening in my life, I couldn't really consent at the same level. And for Marilyn Mosby, I would ask if she's really worried about women and the criminal records of women, and I've even had people tell me I don't understand black wellness. I want to know why this is the solution when the largest growing number of entrepreneurs in our country are women, specifically black women. So why is this good enough? And why isn't she saying we need to invest in women in our city so that she can go and be the next CEO of some large corporation and then have the opportunity to employ other women?
What are your thoughts on the decriminalization of drugs?
Well, I think there should definitely be some sort of, instead of going to jail, that you can go into some type of program, alternatives from going to jail to get in the program so you can get a better education on what you're being involved with. And even if we have a program called King Renaissance, it's an inside-out program that goes into a prison, talk to the administration. It gets down to the population of the people and deal with the issues that they are going through. And try to help them in the best way possible. We create tracking photos on each person and meet them basically where they are and try to push them forward in their release. And that's the inside. Outside is once they release, we continue to track them, we continue to work with them with the issues that they are facing. If it's decriminalization of marijuana or some other type of drug, then we'll try to make sure that we can monitor them on the issues that they are having. and continue to do that. So I think for even with juveniles or women or men, to decriminalize marijuana and start using other alternatives to deal with their issues would be a better way to go with that. And we have a program that does that.
How do levels of violence, particularly early on in your career, how does it impact your economic and opportunities in the long run?
Is that one for me?
Yeah.
You know, I want to think about real quick about the not use of the police for whatever, however it's not prosecuting, not criminalizing. I don't know. I'm not in the police. There's some meetings that I'm not in that I wouldn't really know everything, but this is what I do know. Right now, our police are unionized. They're not going anywhere. And if we don't like what they're doing, our leaders should be saying we need to make sure they're trained in a way that they're used effectively. And because they're not going anywhere, we're not using them. They will continue to get paid, as someone has said already. And from there, like I mentioned, the raising rates of HIV, syphilis, gonorrhea, unplanned pregnancy. We've seen high levels of violence against women as a result of the not prosecuting. And in a few years, because Baltimore City had I applied for a grant for Office of Victims of Crime, that when the contenders were, you had to be in a place where it had high poverty levels, above 20% for 3 consecutive decades. Baltimore City had that hands down. And so what I'll say for this is in about 5 years, we're going to have more individuals on a state health insurance because they can't cover the bills. There's not already enough money in the city. And so these policies will have an economic drain on our city, or the lack thereof.
We're going to go to, state your name for me, my brother.
Daniel Burgess.
Okay, Daniel, ask your question.
I don't really have per se a question, just wanted to pick the brains of those that were up here. First, previously, when he talked about accountability, there's plenty of accountability in Baltimore City as far as the grassroots levels for our elected officials. But what do we do when our accountability doesn't seem to reach the people that hold the accountable? Another comment or question that I wanted to have, we have a consent decree, which has been put in place to hold people accountable. Why are there timelines stretched out for a year or 2 years before these data points and things are being looked at? If I have a child and I'm a parent and, one of my children don't get into any trouble in school, I only need to look at his report cards and his progress report. But if I have a child that is constantly getting in trouble in school, every day there should be some type of assessment done. So for a city of Baltimore with a history of violence, why are our timelines and why is our attention to managing these different data points so stretched out? And then that's just a comment or a question. And then as far as Mosley and the prosecution and everything about as far as women is concerned, so Baltimore is a different type of city, and so many times we get attacked about drug usage, we get attacked about prostitution with no solution. It's easy to say, we need to prosecute, but all you're doing basically is locking up someone else so their daughter can continue that process if you're not putting anything in place to support people. It's easy to tell a mother, don't sell your body. But what's hard is for a mother to have to catch 2 buses and spend 5 hours on the bus to get the same opportunity as someone who lives in White Marsh to make $16 an hour. Without any solution, how can there be prosecution? Baltimore is a city that used to be alive. There used to be art, there used to be music, there used to be rec centers, there used to be opportunities for young women to want to strive to be something else. But when you put a child in an environment where they can't be educated, because now, and I'm sorry, I have a lot to say, but now when we look at it, when it gets to the point where that adult is already selling their body, we've already missed the mark. We're not attacking these things at a ground level. We're putting our children in schools with no heat, no AC, no opportunities in front of sex, in front of drugs, and then we're prosecuting them for taking the choices that we're leaving them with. So instead of prosecuting the women, and I agree, it's something that needs to, eventually needs to be tackled, let's give them a solution or an alternative to the means of which they choose.
Thank you.
I like it. Can I take it?
Yes.
Is that, first of all, you made some really, really important points. And, one of the things, empowerment isn't here in the first segment, the question, we're doing this for them, we're doing this for them. Empowerment is an action. And that means our leadership and our teachers and everybody should be doing things with. That is how you get true empowerment, is when people have the opportunity to have buy-in. And you know, when I was being trained early on some trauma training, I was told a story about a little girl who was told to call her vagina a pocketbook. Yes. And so these are things that are happening that has sex abuse going unnoticed because we're not willing to use the proper anatomy. And so from a young age, she's already told to call her private parts a pocketbook. And so from there, we're then in 2018, 76% of households in our city were headed by women. And I understand the need for our investment in our men. But until our city can catch up, we really need to be investing in our women. Because you're right. You are right. She takes 3 buses. Then she doesn't get the same opportunities that I get and that other people in my organization get. And frankly, you know, one of the things I realized from some of the squeegee kids, who one of them is one of my best street outreach workers in Baltimore City, they get harassed they get in trouble for harassing. But when I'm aggressive in raising money for my organization, I'm called good at my job.
Hold that point. I want to hear what the sister has to say. Thank you, sir. Your name?
My name is Christina Flowers.
Hi, Christina.
I know one of the reasons when we were speaking about accountability, I want all of us to look at ourselves in this room because we really have to be accountable as community leaders, advocates, activists, ministers, clergy, and really recognize that, you know, a town hall, this is a great start for us, but we need to have a standing room only in Baltimore City right now. And I feel like all of us should look at each other and make sure that we know we are in a church. Thank you, Bishop Nunez, for having us. But accountability starts with us as community leaders. If we're not dealing with division in our city, and thank you, Armstrong. I watch you on TV all the time. But we got a lot of division here, guys. And until we get more unified and hold each other accountable, we're going to be sitting at town halls, meetings. And our city is in crisis because we seem to be complacent right now. And I just want to make sure no one leaves this room and not recognize when people ask the question, where is the church? And I feel like we have God's influential individuals right around this city creating this platform, and we all need to take that to another place and really change our city.
Well,
I'm also a homeless advocate too, so I have to speak on the behalf of our homeless sisters and brothers, like individuals that are actually dying while we sitting in here. So we have to be very accountable for ourselves.
Thank you. When we come back, we're gonna I'm going to say goodbye to our guests. We're going to come back in the next we're going to have Anthony Barksdale come back and join us because there are a lot of these issues that we want to have him speak to when we come back. Yeah, absolutely, you coming back, brother. I'm just letting you know. Heads up. And others. Don't go away. Your voice, your future. I'm Armstrong Williams. We'll be back. Yes. And, oh, we're back. Oh, my goodness, I'm distracted. That's not like me. Welcome back to Your Voice, Your Future. You know, you heard the comment which got a lot of people involved in the conversation. So much was said, Melvin Russell. You're retired acting deputy commissioner in chief. How do you respond to some of what you're hearing from the audience in our panels?
Oh my God, Armstrong, there was a lot said. I mean, they're spot on. I know a lot of these people that are out here, and you know, to hear some of them, I refer to them. They're all family, as far as I'm concerned. Even though they're the community, they are my family. And at the end of the day, for instance, Daniel Burgess, the things that he was speaking to, how do you expect us to reach to point B when you only give us options that will never allow us to reach point B? And I don't want to go all verbatim what he was saying, but at the end of the day, we don't give our people the opportunity. We lock up people. We break up families. We do a lot of things to break up the cycle to just continue to incarcerate our people, if that makes sense to you. So I'm not sure what specificities you want me to speak to.
I want you to speak the truth.
Well, they know I only speak to them.
Yeah, that's what we know. We're here for the truth. We're in church.
So let me just add lib.
Yeah, let's just
let me because I ain't got much time because my little big brother's here. I mean, he may be younger than me, but he's way bigger than me and he's way smarter than me. So so let me say this. He told you guys the God's honest truth about what's wrong with policing today and why crime is skyrocketing today, right? We learned under his tutelage. I was in the department before him, but when he came along, things got straight. I remember when he was deputy commissioner and there was a commissioner in place, and their marching orders were to me when I got the worst district, the most violent district, nobody could seem to handle that district, was just two things. Pick up police morale. Second thing is you need to gain public trust. Get community trust. You know why they said that? Because if you do those two things, then you can fight crime effectively. He already told you about all the intricate details of how to fight crime. He gave us the roadmap to do that. But if you don't have police that have the morale to do it, I just said something. And then if you don't have a community that are willing to back you up and work alongside of you, it'll never work. It'll never work. So my concern today is, what are your priorities? And I'm going to be like him, speaking to the executives that is in charge of public safety. Who are your priorities?
What should be their priorities?
Oh,
Anthony?
The citizens are the priority. Mm-hmm. That's it. I'm not trying to be, that shouldn't even be a question. They're the priority. Keep you alive, keep your family safe, and do the work. They shouldn't have to go out on the street and figure out who's shooting and killing. That's what you paid us for. You pay us to do police work. I want you to live your life as a good citizen. That's it. So that's the priority. And somehow, now, they could die.
So let me ask you a different question. Let me help you out here. So if the citizens are not the priority, what is the priority to the elected officials then?
Ooh, little big brother, please, let me.
Mel got it.
So let me say this to you. He said the people should be the priority.
Right.
The community is the priority. The problem is, as an elected official, as a leader of public safety, is it all the people? Because if it ain't all the people, then your priorities are screwed up.
That's right.
So this is what I'm saying to you. It can't be I like to use this analogy that was taught to me by my mentors, the I corridor, right? So we got this I, you know what a capital I look like, right? You got this line down the middle, you got the top and the bottom. Those seem to be the priorities of leadership in the city. Your top portion, let's look at the top of Baltimore, right? The influential communities. Come down, straight down the middle, Charles Street, go through downtown. Come down the bottom, you got the Inner Harbor. But are you looking to the right of the aisle? Are you looking to the left of the aisle? Are you looking at East Baltimore and West Baltimore? If the priority are the people, it's got to be and always should be all the people. And that means either your criminals, that means those who are facilitating, because you've given those no other options. They are doing that to survive. Why don't you ever go talk to the people who are facilitating the crime? Why? Listen. If my child is doing something he has no business doing, the first thing I'm going to do is sit him down and say, son, why are you doing this? And he's going to give me the answers that I might be able to help him to stop doing what he's doing, which means I can give him the resources, I can give him the encouragement, I'll give him everything to be successful. But you know what we do? We look at the East, we look at the West and say, we ain't giving them jack. Yep. All we're going to do is just lock them up. But I'm telling you, when you sit down with the people, I've got some homies that are my family out here. I got some gang members. I've got some good people. I've got some what people say aren't good people. I got people who got arrest records. Bishop Nunez, I don't care, Bishop Nunez. Bishop Nunez, him and I shouldn't even be hanging out together. That boy used to sell drugs up in New York City. But that's my man right now. That's my man. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because people deserve a second chance. And there are a lot of people in Baltimore City that deserve a second, a third, and a fourth chance. Especially a first chance. Especially when they tell you, I need help. I'm willing to be helped. I can tell you how to fix the crime. Listen, I'm the one who's sanctioning the crime that's going on in the city. But if you give us some resources, and they're not asking for much, housing. Come on, somebody. Jobs. They're not asking for much. If you could do these things for me, I can help drive down crime. So all I did was take the formula he gave me, took what the people said. That's the problem. We don't listen.
So let me play.
I'm sorry.
Let me play the devil's advocate here. So obviously, this is an indictment of leadership in the Old Boys Network.
You said it.
And so, but people look at Baltimore and across every echelon that really matters, they would say that black people in power, from the mayor to the city council to the police, it was elected. So are you saying they're powerless to change the circumstances, or they just become a part of the system?
He's looking at you, little big brother.
No, they do have.
Well, speak truth. Now, they're here in church.
They do have power.
What power do they have?
They have the power to change a crime plan. They have a power to say, you're not doing your job, you're out. And he's a witness, another commander in here is a witness. If people are dying and suffering under your command, you're gone. I had no problem doing it. And I'll give you an example. Since you want to do the we in church thing.
Yeah.
So there were two commanders in one of Baltimore's districts. One day, every day for 5 years, I would go and physically visit any crime scene where someone lost their life or was shot. It's 5 years I did this. So one day, I got picked up. My driver said, boss, here's the list of what happened last night. I said, all right, let's go. I go to a scene. I'm standing there. And every time I went to a scene, I'm thinking, and the block could be quiet. And I say, somebody died here last night. And the thing, so I'm standing there. So then the next morning, I get in the truck, and my driver, a sergeant, says, sir, you're not going to be happy. I said, all right, where are we going today? And he said, I'm gonna take you, but please be calm, because I can get worked up, believe it or not. So we go to the same exact spot where somebody died the night before. So if it's that speaker, the other person one night was that speaker, someone died at this speaker. Okay? The distance in a 24-hour period. I texted Mayor Rollins Blake and said, Madam Mayor, I need to talk to you immediately. I was interim commissioner at the time. So she says, all right, Barksdale, call me. Call her. Said, Madam Mayor, I had 2 homicides back to back, 24-hour period in the specific district. I know you saw it on your pager. I have to move them. They're done. They're done. That's that day. I don't wait. Now you can have a triple shooting with a double homicide in that triple, and the commander's safe.
No accountability.
That is lack of accountability. You must be held accountable for your crime. That's what we get paid to do. Serve you. Serve the community. It's not that is our job. And now it's been put on you to go out in the street and figure it out. And when somebody is shot, you figure it out. That's not for you to do. You paid us to do it. Right. That's all I felt, all I believed we were there for was for the people.
Amen.
So that's the difference between back then and now, accountability. So that is within their control.
You know, when we come back, we've got to, I'm learning too. I'm enraptured. I'm here to learn also. And, we're in the media. We have a responsibility to report the truth, the facts, no matter how it may come across. That's our responsibility here. And so when we come back, we're going to have my brother who's raring to say something,
nephew.
Denard over here, and the bishop going to come back, and we're going to talk about some solutions. And we're going to take more from the audience. Don't worry, I'm coming to you at the mic. In fact, I may open with you when we come back. Okay, thank you all. Wonderful. We'll be back. Don't go away. And welcome back. We're going to go straight to the audience. Adana Black has been so patiently waiting to ask this question. Adana, you have the mic.
Yes, so hello. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm a part of a youth-led movement in Baltimore. It's called Culture Rise. It is young people on the ground in the trenches who have been doing this work for some years now, who have been crying out to the leadership of Baltimore and have been completely ignored. We have been to the Board of Education, we have been to City Hall, we have been to the juvenile detention centers, we have been around the town. So we know about the accountability or lack thereof. My question is, how do you decriminalize a city or of citizens who are treated on a regular basis like criminals? You have systems, pipelines from education to prison. The schools don't teach the young people. They don't have the resources in the schools. We know that the money is there. It's in the budgets. It's not being allocated properly so that young people can get what they need to be properly educated. So that leads them back to the streets, and the streets to the jails. So when you're saying, how do you decriminalize a city, you have to first stop treating the citizens like criminals.
Okay, let me get your statement, then we're going to come up to our panel. Quickly, go ahead.
All right, my name is Steve Copeland, and my organization is Strengthening the Community. Now, I just want to share this right. I'm coming up on 29 years clean. I don't have no problem telling people that. And because I came out of that lifestyle, I go back and I grab our people. Sometimes when I leave my house, I don't know who out there might want to kill me. Because I step up to our politicians, I step up to a lot of them that set our people up to get killed. So stop going up there with that. The drugs is coming from where? Up top. The guns is coming from where? Up top. Right? And it's coming into the city. With Communities United, we was fighting for safe consumption sites so people can go and use, and if their drugs is faced with Lidor, they can bring them back. I said no, because I deal with total accidents. But then I realized too many people was dying. Right. So I said, I hope y'all fight that bill. And that's what I do. I love you, Melvin. I love you, Peanut. I went to Melvin one day, and I'm going to shut up. I wanted to go on Pennsylvania Avenue. I was going to get some recovery guys because I grew up without a man. I'm 59 years old. Can't even tell you if my father was living or not. And it still hurts. So look, I met Melvin. I'm trying to get these group of men so we can go up on Pennsylvania Avenue and talk to our young men. Why are you knocking on the doors? There are their kids out there. They need to come and get their kids, but they're not doing it. So I'm talking to Melvin. I said, I want the police to come up and watch our back. So won't nobody run home and get a gun and come back? So I needed somebody to watch us. Then I heard about Safe Street. Right. Ceasefire. Hug, don't shoot. Is anything stopping? Did it slow down? You paying people for nothing. And half of them is their freaking daggone kids. And do you think they're going to sit back and let you lock their kids up? No. Thank you. So they're going to keep doing what they do. So now, I'm a deacon. I don't tell a lot of people that. Ordained, because that black side might show up. Don't get it wrong, y'all. I'm talking about that old gangster that I try to hide. I love my city, man. I love my city. This young man right here know me. He know what I'm about. Yes, I connect with everybody, so whatever the issues is in Baltimore City, we got the solution. They don't want it. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Jannard, welcome to the platform. They call you Shatter, Jannard Bar. What are the solutions?
Okay, well, solutions, as far as I was taught, and I was trained in logistics for this kind of thing. The best example I could come up with, if I may toot my own horn for a minute, during the Freddie Gray uprising, there were several different gangs on the west side. Won't get into specifics, but they were going to burn down the West Side Police Station because, let's just be very honest, anybody that's ever been abused, once you get to that point, you don't care about morality or logic or anything else. They was going to burn it down, yo. Right? So my suggestion was, give me a minute. We got Mel. This is the important, like, I'm trying to show you the actual solution in the way we went about it. We got Mel. We have a dude that got a white shirt and gold bars that come through the hood, y'all. You got the dude who can help you with all of this, who can hear your issues. He right here. Do me a favor. Let's not get all us killed and vilified. Let me get Mel down here first. And if we can talk to Unc, and Unc can hear us out. For anybody who paying attention, because you hear a lot about just reach out and about. That's how you do it, man. Like, people forget. You get a badge and forget to be a person. Excuse my French. You get a pulpit and forget to be a person. You get a title and forget to be a person. You become a counselor and forget to be a person. You know the only set of people on planet Earth who never forget how to be people? Gangsters. Because when, I ain't never had no education. I'm not a college educated dude, but when my nephew needed to go to college, who paid for it? Huh? When your niece needed to get her rent paid, who paid for it? Huh? When my kid ain't got no book, no money to pay for his computer for school, how am I get that? Y'all ain't gonna give it to me. I can't go on the news and start a GoFundMe. I can't, right? I can't go down the street and find a job at Towson Mall, because Towson Mall is 27 miles away. Can't find a job at Columbia, that's 27 miles away. I live on the west side. The nearest grocery store to my house is 9 miles away. You feel me? You hear people talk about solutions for crime. You want to kill prostitution? Create opportunity. You want to stop a drug dealer? Create opportunity. Because, like, we was here doing the work. Derek Chase, Melvin Russell, we was doing the work. $500 million come through Baltimore City. And it stopped at City Hall. Huh? Meanwhile, then a couple of years later, 5 years later, the whole world shut down. The whole world shut, nigga, ain't nobody outside. Whole world shut down. And people like to say, well, Baltimore has finally seen a reduction in crime, until they figured out it wasn't true. Because what I've been saying for a million of years, feed people. If I ain't got to kill you for $5 to get a chicken box, bro, nobody dies. That's right. Let me say it again for those of us in the back who don't live in the projects. If I ain't got to shoot you for $5, my dude, guess what? You go home and so do I. You go home and so do I. I have a police commissioner here who was here when we did it. We did a police gang because the current commissioner likes the old script of Baltimore. 5 people died in the same place. The gangs did it. The last time they said that, just so y'all know, was on Father's Day. And I can tell you this. Every set in the city was in the same place having a picnic.
That's right.
Every set in the city, when them 6 people got killed and that little girl got shot, all them dudes were sitting around eating barbecue talking about, well, if they ain't going to help us on this side, and here's proof. Me and my wife just got the phone call of we can start taking all our at-risk citizens and sending them to California to learn how to do this legally. We don't need Baltimore. All we need is us.
That's right.
If the city don't want to cooperate, cool. Let them operate in that bubble. We can show you how to do it. Drug dealers been doing it for years. The issue now is we don't spend so much time killing Jesus that we don't even know where Christianity comes from no more. Remember, what was Christianity before Jesus got killed? Nothing. Now look at Baltimore now. The primary religion is gangsterism, and who they keep killing over and over and over and over again. Who?
The gangster.
Who? Everything go wrong. Somebody choked on a toy somewhere. Oh, the Crips just killed this little girl. That's not true, man.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't. And we never had that kind of problem before when we had the Sousa and Mel or other dudes who were from the city, understood the landscape, knew what they were looking at. I ain't got nothing against this dude. I really don't. But he need to go back wherever he came from.
That's right. Let me, Bishop. Let me get your commentary here.
Yeah. It's extremely important to understand this. When the Freddie Gray incident happened and our city was in turmoil, we got together, led by Chief Mel Russell, and we went into the community. He's one of them that was there, and we met with the gang leaders privately. And we got in a room, and we sat there, and we, first of all, demonstrated respect.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, we respect you. What can be done? Can you give us input? Can you help us understand the situation in the community? We build that relationship, okay? Police officers got arrested. They were going to go to court, and one by one they were being let go. And we talked to the gang leaders, and the gang leaders told us this, and I was sitting in that room. They said to us, you know what? No one, no matter what happens with the cops, we're not going to burn one building. No one's going to get shot. No one's going to do anything. We sat there and we looked at them. Are you sure what you're telling us? And he was the point person on that. And nothing happened. I was at the courthouse when the last police officer was let go. And when we came out of the courthouse and we walked down the steps, the horde of television cameras, CNN, all these people waiting for Baltimore to explode. Nothing happened.
That's right.
And all of them left as fast as they could because the city didn't blow up. And I have to say it in public, it was the gang leaders that kept the peace in the city of Baltimore.
And I say that to say this, and that's just the immediate. Melvin Russell is my witness. For the following 6 months after that, violent crime had went down by 33.9%. Why do I know that number exactly? Do I look like a statistician?
No.
33.9%, almost 40%, like that's almost a half of reduction in crime in the biggest open air market in the entire city. All because a dude with a white shirt and some gold bars came down and talked to people, not thugs, not criminals, not gangsters, not suspects, people. People in a whatever the situation may be. The minute you stop being a person, I don't care. And let me tell you something. I'm from Miami, Florida. I'm from one of the prettiest places in the world. They act like they ain't got the same problems. They do.
Let me say this. You know, because we're out of time.
Out of time.
I think. Well, we are out of time. Yeah. We are. It is so important that when you come to a place like this, you come with an open mind. Yet you're willing to listen. You're willing to hear. And no matter what we've invested in, we all should seek the truth to heal us, the wounds that separate. And we're all human beings. No matter what we may look like, no matter what we've done, God forgives us 1,000 times a day. Amen. And if we don't come together with brothers like this and sisters, we can never heal it. And it starts with people who understand these communities better than anyone else. I am so appreciative that you allowed us in your house, that you are open and honest. And let me tell you, we're coming back. This is just the beginning because we realize we've got a lot of work to do. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, WBFF Fox 45. Thank you, A. Dean and Shermichaels, for putting this together, and our great team, Anthony, everyone. But thank you, Bishop, for welcoming us into your place of worship. And listen, God loves us all. He sees no color. What he sees is a person's heart. And if the heart is good, everything springs forth from there. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining me.